Hello, everybody. This is Pastor Willie, and this is the encouraging word for today. I have a friend whose name is Ebenezer. Do you know anybody whose name is Ebenezer? I think he's the only person I have ever known in my life with the name Ebenezer. And it's a nice name. It sounds like it's an old-fashioned name, probably from the Bible somewhere, but it actually is a word in the Bible. And the literal meaning of the word Ebenezer is stone of help, stone of help, like a memorial stone where God helped you, stone of help. It marks an encounter with God. It marks a significant step in your relationship with God. It remarks maybe a significant answer to prayer in your life. And what happened in that name is found the first time in 1 Samuel chapter 7. The Israelite people were under attack by the Philistines. They were outnumbered, and the enemy was stronger than they, and they were sure to lose the battle in their own power. So they started crying out to God for help. And Samuel cried to God. He was the leader. He cried to God. He asked God for help. And what happened is God fought on their behalf, and they had a great victory. They routed the enemy, something they would not have ever been able to do. God heard their cry, and God resolved the situation for them. So Samuel, the prophet, set up a stone, a large stone, as a marker, as a reminder, and he called it an Ebenezer, a reminder that God had helped them. An Ebenezer, a stone of help. And we're familiar with that concept. I mean, we set up graveyards. There are stones set up to remind us of people. It's a memorial stone. You go like through New York City, or really any city or large town, there'll be monuments to certain people. Columbus Circle will be a monument to Christopher Columbus. You go to the capital of the United States in Washington, D.C., you'll see that famous statue of Abraham Lincoln in the Lincoln Memorial. These are reminders, stones of reminders. And so the Bible is where that idea comes from the word Ebenezer, stone of help. Now, I don't know why my friend's parents named him that. Maybe he was an answer to prayer. Maybe they couldn't have children. I don't know the story, but it was to remind them that God helped them. And so Peter, the Apostle Peter, he had a significant experience with God in his life. He walked with Jesus. That was significant enough. But once Jesus took him and two others up on the mountain to pray, and he actually heard God's voice, audible voice of God on the mountain. And Peter never forgot about it. It became a stone of remembrance. And listen to what he writes in 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 18. We ourselves heard this voice that came from heaven when we were with him on the sacred mountain. We ourselves, if you want to have a stone of remembrance, you can't rely on someone else's stone, someone else's experience with God. It's good to hear other people's testimonies or how God moved in their life, but you need that for yourself. Seek God. Get hungry for God. Cry out to God. God, I need more of you. I need an experience with you. I read about you other people tell me about you, but God, I need an experience. And when you yourself have an experience with God, maybe an answer to a desperate prayer, maybe a door opening after you're praying, maybe a situation, a healing, a deliverance, whatever it is, that's where you put an Ebenezer in your life, a memorial stone. And Peter never forgot. He had the experience. You, my friends, need the experience. So he said, we ourselves heard this voice. So it's an encounter with God, with God's voice, with Christ, the risen Christ. We have an encounter with God. And whenever you have an encounter with God, that's something to write down, make a memorial, a reminder. Why? Because pretty soon you'll be in the valley. You won't be on the mountain any longer. And when in the valley, your faith will be tested. Satan will come at you. And you must remember the Ebenezer, the stone of remembrance, the experience, the encounter with God you had that day. God, I know God is real. I know God answers prayer. Why? Because I remember what happened 2 years ago when I was in a desperate situation. So we ourselves heard this voice, encounter that came from heaven when we were with him on the sacred mountain. He calls it a sacred mountain. When they go up there, it's not mentioned as any kind of sacred mountain. It's just went up on the mountain to pray. But in his mind, listen, in Peter's mind, he had made that mountain an Ebenezer. That mountain was a stone of remembrance for him. So when he was in trouble, maybe even when he was getting executed, as history tells us, was getting beheaded, maybe he put that mountain experience in his mind, and he was able to have faith through difficult situations. So whatever that situation, that encounter with God, and I hope you have many of them, make it a sacred moment that you will remember, because you will be in times of need again. And it's important to look back and see, I can see the Ebenezer. I imagine the Israelites, they set up that stone. When they would have trouble, they could look back. You see that stone? Or even generation to generation. You see that stone? That's when God answered our prayer and helped us. And he's the same yesterday, today, and he'll be the same forever. So mark it as a reminder that God worked on your behalf. So I hope that's helpful. Seek God, have an encounter with him, and make an Ebenezer. And God bless you, and I will see you tomorrow on Facebook Live.